Welcome to the live interview stream with JKS Manga by Destiny Aitsuji. Thank you all for joining on this lovely evening. I think this author needs no introduction. He is the J.K. Rowling of web novel. Please put your hands together, virtual hands together, in the chat to welcome JKS Manga. Check. Beep boop.
Oh wait, hello everyone.
uh, okay, chat. You asked for it. This is the guy. This is Jack. Yes, it's JK. Why is this muted? Sure. Okay, so these are your fans. We currently have people watching in. It's
Yeah,
climbing.
do you
Yeah. Oops.
yeah, I can see the chat. I can see the chat. It's good. Hey Adam, hey everyone.
Okay, so the big guy is here today to respond to all your questions. So feel free to leave it in the chat as we go along with the stream. So today's format is kind of a very casual, real personality, no frills and all fucks. Yeah. Like, feel free to cuss. Okay, so the theme of this interview today is behind the success. Okay, he doesn't need any introduction, as I introduced earlier with my very soothing voice. He is the J.K. Rowling of web novel. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my real name is Jack. That's what the JKS part stands for. And most people probably know me from writing my vampire system. But that wasn't actually my first real work on web novel. My first work was my dragon system. But my vampire system is the one that everyone knows because it's been rank one on web novel for nearly a year now. So yeah, it's like my hit song, if that would make sense.
Okay, so here we have a very lovely picture of yourself. Okay, who is JKS Manga? This guy here is JKS Manga. In case people are wondering, I stole this from the internet. How old are you when you took this picture?
I was 23. I am now 24. So that's only a year ago.
Okay, you are younger than me. I'm shocked. Okay. Nani? Okay. Okay. Right. So yeah, so he wrote 3 books. So I saw you have new book. Is it Werewolf System? Is that the newest?
Yeah, Werewolf System's the newest, but it's only on Patreon.
Ah. Okay, so guys, if you want to read more of his system novels, go to Patreon now. If you are very up to date with the vampire novel, go to Patreon for the werewolves. Like you have like what, dragon, werewolf, vampires. Is there plans for any more?
Yes, there is. Not any more system stories. And as someone else said, they found me through another book I wrote.
Mm.
But that book is on long-term hiatus. But my next book is actually, sorry, my next book is probably going to be my last system story, and it's a zombie apocalypse system story.
Hell yeah. Someone asked, I hope it adds a R18. Will you do R18?
It depends what you classify as R18 because usually in novels, like gore and action don't classify as R18 so much. And
Mm.
it's more the smut or the heavy swearing that makes a book go into R18. So um, my books don't have any
Pa pa pa.
smut or anything in it, so it wouldn't need the R18 tag. It might need like a heavy teen tag or something like that.
Mm.
And just to answer someone's question, I am from England, so
An England man in China.
yes.
Just to clarify, he is married, so no simps. Alright, so a little bit about your past. I heard you were a music teacher, so what kind of instruments did you teach?
Yeah, so I played guitar, but I was a primary music teacher, so I mainly taught singing and how to read notes. But my own instrument was guitar.
Mm. So he knows how to sing, people. We can add this in a little closure session so that I can use this as stream highlights. Yes? Would you let us indulge in this?
I can't. I had to sing for primary school. If you want to hear me sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," but I can't actually sing. I don't have a good voice.
It's
So
okay.
usually I would just play guitar, and then they would have to copy the do re mi thing. So
It's okay. It's okay. I know how to edit a little bit. I will edit and I can I know I don't know make a duet or something or put some background. So- uh, okay. Maybe later if you feel like it. We are always welcome. Can you simp
yeah,
innocently? Ben, what do you mean by simp innocently? I don't understand.
maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so apart from music, you are artistically inclined as well, so I'm assuming you draw.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the reason why my pen name is JKS Manga is because I started doing manga first. So I was published under indie manga, and then I moved, and then I tried a few webtoons, and then I took a break basically from writing and drawing, and it wasn't until the virus that I decided um, to start writing because I'd never actually written a novel before. So it was my first time with the Dragon system.
Mm. Like, I'm a little curious. Why didn't you move into webtoons or like tapas comics? Because it seemed like a good time to also be venturing into that. Because it's not the same as what was that? Sign indie manga publishing.
It was a company called Saturday AM,
Mm.
um, and I yeah I just had a book called Dark Web, but it didn't go on for long. It didn't go well. But yeah, I do it now as well. So someone just asked, do I draw my Vampire System webtoon? I don't draw the My Vampire System webtoon, but I do um, the Werewolf System one.
Okay, so you have experienced a lot of worlds then. So you experienced music world, you experienced the art world, you experienced the writing world. Were they very similar to you or were they very different in a sense? Which one feels more fulfilling?
Um, so so the thing is, the good thing about writing is you can get your story out a lot quicker. And I feel like, say, maybe you have this problem as well, but as a writer, you have so many ideas, and you want to um, get out as soon as possible. But you when you're drawing, like imagine you have the chapter, you've already had the chapter, and now you have to draw it. So you already know what's going to happen, and you just have to draw it. And it feels like the story is moving so slow because it takes you a week just to draw one chapter. So for me, the reason why I really enjoy writing is because I can progress the story at a pace I enjoy. It's kind of like I'm enjoying the story with the readers. But I will say that the manga or webtoon community is a lot nicer. So there, you don't like. I don't think I got any like negative comments. Probably like apart from it was too short when I did webtoon and manga, but definitely with web novels, there's a I wouldn't even say higher standard, but just people are because usually if I don't like something, I'll just move on.
Mm.
But some people feel like they need to comment if they don't like something.
Yeah, you don't have to be so filtered. My stream is not child friendly. You can say they are fuckheads or something. Yeah.
I don't swear a lot. I don't swear a lot. I only swear when I'm angry, so people actually know when I'm angry. So
Who said doo doo? Cow Jackie say he said doo doo. I'm an adult. Nani? And yes, I will agree. Web novel users are super judgmental, but that is also an opinion. So it depends on which web novel user. Yeah. Usually you don't see a lot of level 4 and level 5s giving toxic comments. It's usually the new ones like level 1s and 2s. That's from observation. The ones who hang out in forum. Not sure if you hang out in forum, Jack.
The forum is quite negative towards me if they're new. But honestly, the um, the comments I get actually are usually from, because a lot of my readers are new readers. Like
Mm,
I get a lot of advertising outside of
mm,
web novels, so a lot of my readers are new readers, and they actually enjoy the work because for a lot of people, my vampire system is their first ever novel, not even first ever web novel, maybe first ever light novel, and it's very easy for people to read and get into if they've just watched anime to read my vampire system. It's written in that style, but then people who've read novels for a long time,
mm.
when they try my vampire system, then they just don't understand um, why this is number one. That's usually what they like. They're like, why is this number one? It doesn't make sense to me. And then I actually find I get most of my negative comments from other authors um, rather than readers.
That's true. It's like jealousy is a poison that makes people uglier. So there's no amount of plastic surgery that can save you if you're ugly like this. But okay, I can understand where they're coming from because I'm an avid reader, and before I became a web novelist, which I currently should be quitting, I was self published, and I can understand where they come from. So, web novels are written very, extremely differently from traditional published paperbacks. That's like a standard kind of difference. So um not trying to say that a lot of published authors are looking down web novel, but it's just that when you say that you are not published with a publishing house and they ask you what web novel is, they're like, huh, web fiction, oh, self-published, huh, very nice. And then they just like, you're not worth their attention anymore.
Yeah, in fact, it's more like it's even viewed. It's more like it's viewed lower than self-published.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, like I don't agree that a lot of published writers are great writers. Like I will openly declare to hate Stephen King, even though a lot of people love his work simply because he's egocentric in some of his works. I don't enjoy that. But he is the horror king for like some reason, and I do agree that he has the web novel culture inside of him to wake up at 9 and end at 6 with writing. So it's a kind of like a smart thing to do. But in the artistic sense, it's different. Like, why would people judge? Okay, so your work is closer towards a light novel and it's a cross culture hybrid that is literally a new way for people to enjoy reading when they once watched movies and stuff like that. The people who don't read are coming to web novel for a reason. And not gonna lie, but a lot of people on web novel claim that they earn more than they do out of web novel. So I don't know, that should be saying something, right?
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I've been on Reddit a little
Oh,
bit.
so sorry, do you mean normal authors claim they earn more or web novel authors?
Web novel authors, because normal authors, the trend is like this: when you first release a book and you do a lot of marketing prior to writing that book, you take say 3 months to write one book. Okay, your book sells for 2 months, and for the rest of a year there's nothing if you do no promotion. That's how self-published works on Amazon. Plus you need to pay for that promotion in order to get you up in ranks. So it's a red sea for authors like me who self-publish with unique concepts, which is even worse. I can't tell you how many smart books there are on Amazon, but I have written one in a different name and I totally regretted my decision.
I'm gonna try it with werewolf system, so um, we'll we'll have to see how it
Actu-
goes for me as well.
it actually is easier right now because when I talk about my experience, it's maybe 5 years ago, something like this. Yeah, so I'm not very young.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, at the same time, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have an audience. So, like, I feel like you said, if you had no money, no marketing, and you
Mm,
just went straight onto Amazon, your book is among, so many others. How are you going to be seen?
mm.
But now that I've got an audience, I'm hoping that it will kind of like kickstart that up. I can pay for advertising, things like that.
That would be very good. So you will need a lot of supporters from your Patreon as well. Okay, I have a Twitch viewer. The lady writes is asking, what qualifies a story as a light novel instead of a novella or a novel? So I know this person a little bit more personally. She's a published author. Is the stream buffering for me? Yeah, kind of a little bit. It's because it's multi-stream. Right, so Lady Wrights is asking what qualifies a story as a light novel instead of a novella or a novel. Okay, simply put, a novella or a novel is completed. A novella is completed in about 50,000 to 60,000 words. A novel is completed between 80,000 to 120,000 words typically, and each chapter is about 3.5K to 5K words long. But a light novel is written in a different style whereby it can be as short as 25,000 words to 40,000 words as one light novel itself. And the chapters are nowhere near as long as 3,500 words. It's about 1,000 words to 1,008, 2,000 words at most, and then it wraps up as a chapter. So that's the difference between a light novel and a novella and a novel. But web novel, aka web fiction, is also different from light novel in a sense that it does not have an ending when it is published, and it is published by per chapter. So none of that comes out in paperback. Did I answer your question well enough? That's to the Twitch viewer. Right, so where were we? A little sidetracked. Ah, yes, we were talking about your preference between music, art, and writing. And then you found that writing was best.
Yeah, it's the easiest to get my story across. I enjoy now writing more the comic side of things. The only reason why I enjoy comic is because
The,
um, I I like to see it visually, right? And I feel like that's the bigger thing. Like I always said, I want to show something I can show to my family, and my family don't read manga and they don't read books. So to get my family into my own stories, eventually I have to make a TV show. So um, to move that up, I need to move one stage at a time. So I'm going from books to comics, and then hopefully it'll go into something else beyond that. I do have I have some stuff going on, but I can't mention it on stream.
okay. We'll be looking forward to it, Jack. Hopefully, see you in Hollywood. Alright, so down here, the next slide is what is your inspiration for picking up the pen? So, apart from COVID, was there anything else that's like, inspiring you to be like, hey, let's do this?
I think my dream was always to do something I enjoy full time, right? And it's not like I didn't enjoy writing, but I think a lot of people would rather be their own boss. So they'd rather wake up when they want. Your work is your own work. And that's why it didn't have to be books. It could have been the comics thing. But I tried the comics thing for 3 years or 4 years. And it just didn't work for me. And thankfully the book thing did work for me. So yeah, it's one of those things. It wasn't the inspiration and motivation was like, oh, I would love to do something I really enjoy for a living. And I think that's most people, right? They want to do something they love doing, because then it doesn't feel like work. Although the writing does feel like work to me. I do have to mention that.
You work more than when you were employed?
Definitely, I would say. But I probably write more than the um, standard web novel author, right? Which drives me crazy, because I get comments like, "Oh, you don't write enough, or you should write." And like I usually write about um, I write 4 chapters a day, usually, and they're all about 1,600 words. So I think back to university when they told me oh, you have to do a 10,000 word dissertation at the end of the year. And they give you months for that, right? And now it's like, I write like 7,000 words a day. So I write a lot. And I think people don't realize that when they're just, if they're used to getting it every day, right? They start to think like it's a company or I've got a backlog or something. But no, I'm actually writing it every day.
It's a self employed kind of problem.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoy doing it, so it doesn't feel like it's like the great thing is like where I am, it's 9:30 at the moment,
Mm.
and I haven't written a chapter today because I had to go out and get some eye stuff. But now I'm gonna have to work, midnight till 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and they uh, I can only do that because I'm self-employed. So I do work harder, but because I enjoy it, I do it. Otherwise, you can get very. If I didn't enjoy it, you could get very lazy. Like I could just do one chapter a day, or you just get used to not writing. So, but because I enjoy it, it's easier for me to do it.
You speak as if the people who write one chapter is like, not living up to standards. But you have to know, if you do NaNoWriMo, most people just do about 1,600 words a day. That's very little
Yeah.
compared to what you do.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think the traditional process, which you don't have with web novels. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you kind of have to build up to it, and a bit like whenever I do talk to people who outside of web novel, and I tell them how much I write, they're like, I don't understand how you can just come up with stuff that much, right? Um, and honestly, I can't give an answer to that. I don't know either. So
It's kind of something called the flow. Once you get your mind into a world that you live in semi permanently, you don't have to think about it. The moment the words start coming out, it just doesn't stop until you're tired. So that's how the pace is built up for people. Alright, I have some questions here. So the lady writes from Twitch is asking, what is the best way to create attention getting web novels? I'll just tell you, a good cover, a good synopsis, and just clickbaiting. And then Flying Dolphin is asking, are you allowed to talk about the money behind it? So this is up to you, Jack.
I it depends what money questions you're asking. So feel free to ask, and I'll say how much I like to say. So whatever you want to ask, you can ask from that point of view.
Okay, so Emily has another question. Up to what level of explicit description do you use in your novels? What I mean is not only about the swearing, but describing gore scenes, disturbing scenarios, etc.
Um, so for me, I don't like to limit my audience. So, and this is more of a tag thing. Like if you're if you can show emotion without swearing or emotion without having to go into detail, then it's fine, right? And then at least then everyone can read it, or at least everyone is allowed to read it, right? But the problem is when you start putting tags and stuff, then not everyone is allowed to read it. So if I can show the same emotion without having to do those things, I would leave them out.
Basically, you're more child friendly.
Yeah, like my so this is the thing when people are like, oh well, what age rating is your book? And it's like, well, my book's not for children, right? There's humans eating humans. There's very there's themes that kids wouldn't understand, but I don't include the things that would make it um rated above a certain level.
Hmm. It's called class, people. You don't have to swear to be classy. Alright, so Flying Dolphin has a question. How do you make the story? Or come up with the story?
So usually so honestly, it usually doesn't take me that long to come up with a story. It's just a lot of like for me with the vampire one, there wasn't a lot of vampire stories in web novel. There was a lot of female romance vampire stories, but they weren't any cool action vampire stories. Like
Mm.
even Twilight, right, is focused on the romance, and I was like, I love vampires, but why is it always focused on the romance? Which
Exactly.
is why I wanted to make my story. So, so that's how I made Vampire System. And usually on the first day, I'll just write. I think of it like a TV show, and I just write what I enjoy. So I think of anime I've watched, I think of manga I watched, and I think, oh, that's a cool scene. How do I replicate that but not make it the same and put it in my story? And then I write out all the seasons. Like my Vampire System has. Most people who read my story will know this. Has eight arcs or 8 seasons. And yeah, I just go through them as I'm writing. So
Okay, so just to add on, this is a secret, a trade secret that all authors have. You get your best ideas when you are just about to sleep or when you are taking a dump in the toilet. That's not that's a trade secret. Yeah, but that's how you come up with the best stories, okay?
shower's good as well.
I
Shower's
know.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why I can shower for an hour and that's the only feminine thing that I do. Take long showers. Ideas come in. No writer's block. Okay, Silas. Wait, you guys are chatting so fast. Wait, Silas is asking, out of all your main characters, which one reflects yourself the most?
So for me, the one that would be most is Quinn from my Vampire System, and it really hurt me at the beginning because a lot of the decisions I make him make are based on what I would do, and I got so many comments saying that's so stupid. Why would he do that? Why would you do that? And I was like, this character's based off what I would do. So it was like them calling me stupid, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm the stupid one. Or or like they're like, oh, he's such a beta male. He needs to be more alpha. You get a lot of those comments in web novel.
Yeah, now you can reply to them. Since he's a beta male and modeled after myself, I guess all of you are just delta males. Right, so but like yeah, so you put yourself into it and then you get affected. Has it changed anything so far?
No, I mean, the only thing is like if people who read Vampire System, they'll notice the main character isn't very special, and that was my whole point of it. It's like anyone can relate to it. He doesn't have any crazy quirks. He isn't super smart. He isn't super stupid. He's just a normal guy. In my other novels, I do plan to make like for instance in my werewolf one, my new one, he's very hot-headed. But yeah, vampire, I made the characters around him more interesting than the main character himself. And basically the main character is the straight guy, like in the situation while everyone else is a bit over the top.
Which is basically what a normal life should look like for most people. So if you feel like you are the main character, you are doing this wrong. Okay, next question. By Tama. How many novels have you written? I think four, right?
uh
Four?
yeah, four,
Hmm.
that's correct, four. Yeah. Yeah, the free vampire, dragon, werewolf, and virtual sword god.
The one that I've not heard of before, but someone else found it.
Yeah, I mean that's like personally that's my favorite novel, and it's probably the best written, and everyone who has read it agrees, but it just didn't do well. So, um, yeah, it just didn't do well. So, and unfortunately, like at the end of the day, even though I do write enjoying these novels, it now pays my bills. So if a
Hmm.
novel really doesn't do well, I do have to kind of like put it on hiatus and try something else.
Hmm. Okay, Flying Dolphin is back again with a more specific question about money. What are the different forms of income you get other than the Patreon that you are just paid based on the views? Oh no, wait, other than Patreon.
So
Okay.
yeah, I understand. So we are not paid on views at all. So no views. There's no AdSense. There's no nothing. We are not paid on votes on web novel. We're not paid by the stones because I remember someone commenting, "Stop asking for stones. We all know you get commission from stones." We do not get paid Firestones. Okay. The only thing that we get paid from is when you purchase a chapter unlocking coins. And even those coins have to be paid coins. So sometimes you can get free coins from web novels, from competitions and such. We get no money if you unlock chapters from that. We only get 50% net profit. So after Google have taken everything, after all the fees and stuff, we get 50% net profit from each chapter sale.
Basically, not even 1 cent a chapter. Okay, so another question from Kawajaki. Do you have a rough idea of how many chapters My Vampire System will have by the time it's finished?
I would have said in the past I would have known because I always knew there were going to be 8 arcs. I think it was 8 or 9, and then I cut one arc out. And the problem, so that gives you a rough idea, right? If we're in the fourth arc and we're now 800 chapters in, sorry, it's in the fifth arc and we're 800 chapters in, it should probably finish around 1600 chapters. But if you've also noticed, the arcs keep getting longer. So the first arc was 130 chapters. The second arc was like, so the arcs keep getting longer. So because I actually don't know how long each arc will be, I can't give a definite answer. But I would say at least 1,500 chapters. It'll probably be more than that. I'm guessing, honestly, I think it will be more than that, but at least 1,500 chapters since we're just at the halfway point of the story.
Okay, Adam has a question. Do you plan every chapter before writing or go with the flow?
A little bit both. So as I said, I write down like what's going to happen in the season. Then when it comes to that season, I take a day and I take one day and then I write down. I write a paragraph for each chapter that's going to be in that season. So I write down everything that's going to happen in that season, just a small paragraph, and then when I go to write the chapter, I'm writing that chapter based off the my notes, basically the paragraph notes. And sometimes that usually that one paragraph is meant to be one chapter, but sometimes that turns into three. So all the dialogue and maybe what's going to happen in the story is in the flow, but um, but I know what's going to happen in the chapter.
Okay, so new question by Randy. What novels or web novels have inspired you to write?
So I got asked this question when I was in China doing interviews. I got asked this question a lot. I don't read a lot, so I read very few novels, like real life novels. I've only read the Percy Jackson series when I was
Uh,
younger, and the Gone series um, by Michael Grant, uh, and I think those are the only books I've read, like traditional books I've read. And then in terms of web novel wise, the only web the only two web novels I've read is Super Gene and Overgeared, which is a Korean one. Um, and that's it. So in terms of novel writing, because people think, oh yeah, you write web novels, you must have read a lot before, but I really haven't. Most of my reading was I do read a lot of manga, but I don't think and webtoons. I don't have time these days to do that, but yeah.
Okay, so basically, if you were to read a traditional translated web novel versus some of the things that other top a web novel author writes and compare it to JKS style, you can tell instantly whether he reads or not a lot of web novels for influence. Like the style is definitely a hybrid and it's not a web novel, like traditional web novel kind of publishing. So I don't asking that kind of question. But anyways, the lady writes from Twitch is asking, will you be doing Vela? Do you know about Kindle Vela that's coming out?
So,
Kindle Vela.
sorry, I don't know if you're cutting. Let me. I'm just going to change my VPN for 2 seconds, really quick,
Okay.
because I'm at 0.4 megabits
What?
per second.
Okay.
So 2 seconds.
Okay.
Actually, have I disconnected or can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. Maybe I don't need the VPN if the call's already connected.
Ah.
Test.
Ah. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I just can't see the chat, so I'm gonna have to rely on
Me. Me telling you.
Destiny to read the chat to me.
Oh, you call me
Yeah. So
Destiny?
go on. Go on. What were you saying? Asking.
Okay, the lady writes from Twitch is asking, will you be doing Vela, as in Kindle Vela? So it's a very Wattpad and web novel kind of concept that Amazon has released, but so far it's for American situated authors, which you currently are not, and neither am I. So will you intend to join it once it's open to the international market?
So my problem. Test. Just see if I'm all okay.
You are okay?
Um, my problem with Vela is probably more the authors currently don't understand it. And what I mean is like I've seen a lot of authors that are trying it out have like they've got like an 80,000 word short novel and they're like, oh, let's just try release this chapter weekly, right?
Mm-mm.
And it's I think because the authors, I feel like Amazon have seen like what the other companies have done and they're like, oh yeah, this is good, let's try it, but without explaining to the authors or giving them like a reader base, I feel like it's hard to um it's going to be hard for that switch to happen,
Mm-hmm.
um especially for people who do read Amazon books.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at the news and I was laughing to myself. I'm like, huh, this money grabbing Amazon company is just going to screw itself up because, first and foremost, web novel is so unheard of for the people who read Kindle Unlimited and, the quality standards. And we've been on web novels, so we know when new readers come expecting something else and then they read this, they're like, what's this trash? So if Vela launches and then all these people are just trying to do that while people like us are going in, that's gonna be like a conflict of what's being produced. And Vela will probably not fly. It will take a while before Amazon changes all its policies before it starts to work, and you'd start to see a lot of crappy authors start making their way and crawling through it, somewhat like web novel. And while some makes it, I don't think Vela is going to, it's just gonna milk the top authors for money and stuff. Kind of similar to what web novel does. It's not.
I think I think the one thing Amazon do have is money though. So
It's true.
um like they could easily probably, well, what they should have done is probably bought another service that was already doing it and then just expanded that like they did Twitch, right? They bought Twitch and
Mm.
then just Amazon just owns it now. They didn't try and make their own Twitch.
They should have bought
So I feel like
Wattpad.
Amazon should, but yeah. Wattpad would have been yeah, and then try monetize it. I agree.
If they bought Wattpad, I think Ash will go running back. Okay, Huzian on Twitch is asking, what do you think about the novel that took the whole idea of the My Vampire system and turned it into a web novel, PG 18 plus?
What do they mean?
I got no clue. I'm thinking somebody else took the idea of My Vampire system and then added in 18 plus, like romance and harems. Kind of like stealing your idea but
Uh,
adding sex.
so so I don't mind the like no idea is a new idea, right? So if it's just the idea is fine, but so like I don't particularly care, and but it is annoying when you build certain things that are unique to your story, and because I have an idea what they're talking about because it did happen, like, so for instance, like it's too similar, right?
Mm, mm,
And a lot of Chinese novels do this as well, like the beginning and setup is near enough exactly the same, just the characters are different,
mm.
and at the end of the day you can't you us as authors can't do anything about it. It does annoy you a bit, but at least the thing is they can never copy you completely, because even if they were like got up to the latest chapter and were copying you near enough the same, like same plot points, only you know what's going to happen later. The person copying you doesn't.
Mm.
So but yeah, so in the end they usually do their own thing, and if you do read those other novels, usually only the first 15 chapters or so are similar, and then they go off and do their own thing because they get a lot of hate themselves. They get a lot of it in the comments and they don't like it.
Yep. Okay, so Joe Skylar, hi JKS. Any tips for Spirity? I'm gonna answer this on Jack's behalf. No, because he doesn't need Spirity this year. And because the vampire
That's
system,
true. I'm not joining. I'm not.
yeah, the vampire system might be last year's Spirity's winner, but you gotta know my vampire system is something that exploded from nowhere. So there really isn't any tips. Like just write, just fucking write a book, start a book, get in there, get a contract. That's how you get Spirity. Okay, start, just start. Okay, Neo
That's
said,
true.
yeah,
That's true. I mean, any tips for Spirity are just tips for web novel.
yeah.
Like it's exactly the same thing. But there's no difference between writing a Spirity book or writing a normal web novel. At the end of the day, just write a good web novel, and that will win Spirity.
No, no, there is a difference. You have a 6 months deadline. That's it. Okay, Neo says, my boy doing an interview. I'm so proud. Oh yeah, I didn't know he would be doing an interview with me as well, but I'm pretty sure he did several other interviews. If you actually checked, Facebook Web Novels official has his interview with his face, so it's even sassier than the one that I'm doing now. King Sass is asking,
that's my apartment as well. If anyone's wondering, so the the web novel interview is in my apartment.
what? They invaded your apartment to interrogate you? How dare they? Okay, but gotta say, you got a nice working space and all. And I saw you like tip tapping away on your laptop, so I'm actually curious to know if you write with all 10 fingers. Type with all 10 fingers.
I do, but I suffer from a lot. So I have to. If you guys don't know, RSI is like repetitive strain injury, and it's usually my little finger and my ring finger. And it gets really painful. So like I can't lift up things because I've just typed so much during the day. Um, but my setup has actually changed. I had a room upstairs and I moved the bed out of it, and now I have a desk and uh, two monitors and everything to help me out.
Okay, we'll go into details for that sweet thing later. I have a slide for that. Right now it's just FAQ for days. It's like I'm on second slide, guys. Give me a breather, okay? So let's try and finish the questions. Stop typing anymore. I can see the scroll bar growing. Okay, King Sass is asking, will you ever do a spin-off based during the Delki War? I remember you saying you wouldn't do a book from Leo's point of view, but we'd love to see the Delki War more. Would you do a spin-off?
uh, I mean, the thing is, if you read the book, it's going into the war, like a war. I mean, I know you want to do a book based off the first war that kind of just gets mentioned, but because it's already gonna be a book based on the new war, then I feel like it'll pretty much be the same thing. I would never say no, and honestly, the part of me is undecided when my vampire systems ends. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be carrying on writing spin-offs for my vampire system forever, or do I want to write something new? Um, so, and I am conflicted because I would love to write that extra stuff, and it's one of those things I just don't have enough hours in the day to write my new
Mm.
ideas and extra stuff for everything.
May I suggest a solution that feeds both the writer and the readers? Please write a fan fiction of the Delki War that you want to see, and then send it to JKS so that he can read it as well. But do it good.
Yeah, fan fiction would be good. It would grow the popularity of. If anyone wants to write fan fiction, that would grow the popularity of my vampire system as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I beg to differ because like I have people writing fan fictions for Ball of Nothing, and I needed holy water for my eyes after that. It depends. It depends. Like, I don't know why, but okay. Okay, Ben is asking, do you struggle with giving out spoilers?
I am very strict about spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, it's why a lot of people ask in my Discord server, why did I made a spoilers channel and I made it so only people with priv can access it, and people complain. They're like, I like spoilers. Why can't I go into spoiler channel? It's like, because I don't want them to be spoiled. I want you to enjoy it the original way I intended it. So I want you to feel the build up. I want you to feel the tension, and then uh, feel those that dopamine rush when you get to that point. Like, I don't want to just tell you what happens or spoil it.
You are too nice. You should have just told them you are not the chosen one. Cash is king. Okay, Dilana is asking, have you ever changed your plot because of readers?
um, Not the plot, but so I would usually say no, don't. You shouldn't do this anyway. And I'll give you an example. If anyone reads the first 15 chapters of my vampire system, there's so much hate in those comments that you'd think it's the most unpopular story on webnovel. Um, and it just isn't. So I'd usually say don't. As bad as it sounds, what I mean is, I mean, obviously you should listen to people, but I wouldn't listen to everyone, especially non-authors or authors that don't have a background. It doesn't make sense to take every advice. Um, but I have sometimes changed certain characters because of readers. Like if someone says, "Oh, that doesn't really fit their character," I do reread it and I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't fit their character," and I try change that or give a reason for that.
Okay, so Shinken 2 is asking, have you ever heard of solo leveling?
I think I think nearly everyone has. I mean, solo leveling is not underground.
It is
It's not an
mainstream.
underground story.
It
It's
is.
mainstream. It's like top mainstream. If you go to any pirate site, it's either number one or number two, like ahead
Mm,
of One Piece and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, solo leveling is not unheard of. It's unheard of people because there are people like this, and I don't know why, who still only just read manga. So it's unheard of those people that won't make the jump from manga to webtoon, but everyone else knows about it. So
He's cultured people, okay? So, Flying Dolphin comes in with a new question. What VPN do you use?
I use Astral because honestly, it's the only one that it was. I was trying to play a game called Black Desert Online, which is a MMO, and the Black Desert has like a really strict VPN. Like if you have a VPN, it would just say nope, nope, you can't. And Astral was the only one that would work with that game.
Okay, so even though he has money, he can't, use money to solve everything. So, yeah, that's Astro. Thankfully for Astro. Okay, Silas is asking, do you think My Vampire System will become an anime?
So the most difficult thing about this is the contract, right? I have actually had offers, not for anime, so no one get excited. I haven't had offers for anime. I have had offers for other things, and because when we sign a web novel contract, we no longer own the rights. It goes to
Mm.
web novel. We have to pass it on to them, and then they make the decision. And they're so focused on the app and book side of things, they don't want to lose focus. They don't have a department that is in control of these things like they do for the Chinese side. So it's very new to them. And I'll give you an example. I did have so this is unconfirmed stuff. Like I did have an offer for an MVS game, and um, I they didn't have an answer, right? So then I had to go in a meeting with WebNova, everything about this game, and they still don't have an answer. And I honestly don't know what's happening with that. So it's because they're not used to it. So even if an anime did come along, unless it's in house, like produced by a Tencent linked studio, I don't think we'll have one for a while.
Mm. Okay, so I don't know how to pronounce his name. BL4Z305 Noobs ask, is there a betrayal scene for My Vampire System?
In the first 64 chapters, there's a huge betrayal in the first 64 chapters. They, I mean, anyone. I mean that was I think that was I the reason why it goes from free to paid at that point is because it's a cliffhanger. It's a huge cliffhanger. And there's if you read on, there's recently no one write in the spoilers for those who haven't read. There's another one. I think nearly every story that goes on this long has a betrayal scene, right? 800 chapters in with no betrayal is unless it's a slice of life story, and even then, I think something would happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Flying Dolphin comes back again. She's like, I'm sorry if I already. Okay, they want to know if you're gonna add any romance to any of your stories and harems if there is.
So I said this at the beginning. I don't do harem stories. So there might be multiple love interests, but they won't be the main character won't. In any of my stories, I can't imagine the main character getting with more than one person. So there might be multiple people that like him, or he likes multiple people and can't decide, but he won't like it won't be like that. I just don't um I don't know. Like even though I write um uh fantasy, that seems too unfantasy to me. Like sorry, that seems too uh unrealistic for me. It's like because I always write stories from perspective of what I would do, and I said this before. So my story is based on if you got vampire powers, what would you do? And it's like, would I start a harem? No. So that's why I don't write harem stories. I wouldn't be good at it. I wouldn't know what to write because I wouldn't do it. So sorry, guys.
Mm. In other words, to say JKS is very, very loyal and in love with his wife. So, no, he is a self insert in his story as main character, so you will not see harems. Maybe romance, but not harems because there's only one love of his life. So, the lady right says, a suggestion for you, Jack. Get a wrist brace and use it overnight. It's a huge help. So, maybe you want to look into that?
uh, yes, I do have a brace that I sleep with, but my dogs ate it, so I have to get a new one.
Oh my god. uh, okay. That was a good laugh. Okay. Wow, your dogs ate it. Is it possible to ship them over in China though? Are they still in lockdown at the moment?
No, China hasn't been in lockdown for a year and
Mm-hmm. You could get it shipped, right?
like 3 months. Yeah. I can just get a new one. It's not fine. I can just order it on like Taobao, which is the Chinese version of Amazon.
You can read?
Um,
Oh wait, no, your wife probably does that for you.
yeah. It is her.
I was so shocked for a moment. You told me you can't read Chinese and speak Chinese, and then it's like, oh, Taobao. I'm like, Nani? I can't.
No, yeah, I can't read Chinese. I can't speak Chinese.
Mm. Okay, and then King says it's like everyone on Discord knows JKS writes with both his hands and feet. You want to clarify this rumor before it gets odd?
I, I have I ever written with my feet in my life? I don't know. I always usually write on a laptop. I've written on mobile very rarely when I need to get a chap like when I'm on a long train journey. I'll try write on my phone, but I don't enjoy writing on my phone. Not that didn't
Um,
answer your feet question, but
okay, we will leave it at there. You can feel free to imagine. Okay, Ben is here. Would you develop more laws for MVS, My Vampire System, should the community of fanfictions get larger? I noticed you are developing a wiki.
So Webnovel actually asked me to. So I didn't do the wiki. Someone else made the wiki,
Mm?
and then Webnovel asked me to make a Wikipedia page. Now, I, someone was helping me make a Wikipedia page and submitted it, and it got declined because there are not, which I never knew this. There are not enough. They said there are not enough reliable articles from reliable companies, whatever Wikipedia deems reliable, to um, to classify my vampire system as a page. So like they just said there's not enough. Like no one's written about it basically. Like Forbes haven't written about my vampire system, blah blah blah. The New York Times have written like they want basically real websites to write about those things and then me reference them from the information. So they declined the Wikipedia page. basically.
The nerve of them. Okay, just you wait. This interview today is going to be famous in the next 5 years from YouTube recommendations. You will have your Wikipedia page by then, if it hasn't happened earlier.
Yeah.
Right, so Karumin Multi Fandom is asking, are you going to magically bring back date characters?
No, I repeatedly say this in the story because the one thing I hate, like I'm gonna give Dragon Ball Z as an example, is I feel you need tension, right? And usually the tension is death, and so you're always worried that the character might die. And in Dragon Ball Z, because they can bring them back to life, it feels like there's no tension. And they have to keep upping the scale. They have to, like in the latest thing, it's now the whole universe is going to get destroyed. They have to change that because it doesn't matter if the characters die because they can just wish them back to life. So that's why in my story, I mentioned multiple times the one thing you can't do in the story is bring back the dead. You can, if they're near death, they can turn them into a vampire and make them a vampire. But the one thing that's permanent is death. So once characters have died, they're dead.
Okay, I think the only exception to your rule here is if you write my zombie system and then they come back from the dead as undead.
Yes, that's very true.
Mm-hmm. See, this is what writers are like. Okay, so we have. Oh, I'm finally making it way down here. Okay, let's see. Okay, Luca is asking, why does JK's Discord messages have so many typos? Well, let me answer this for you because he doesn't use Grammarly and he has an editor, so it's a rich people privilege. The ones who can afford
Oh,
editors.
my no, well, Discord, my Discord messages. So it's similar to my handwriting. I type faster than I just don't correct it. I just type and just keep going, and that's how I write my chapters as well. I just keep going what's in my head and keep writing. So I don't correct anything, and as
Hmm.
long as you can understand it, I don't see a reason to correct like text messages and things like that.
Let me just simplify this and translate it to normal people speak. Time is money. No time to correct typos, okay? Okay, random dude. He's like, hey there, I like my vampire system, especially the beginning meat part, but in the later stages, it's getting a bit predictive. Can the main character get a bit of development? Let me answer this on Jack's behalf. No, it's his fucking book. If you don't like it, stop reading it. Okay? For Silas, he's like, for my dragon system, will Ray realize Sylvia loves him, and when can we see the manga coming up?
The first thing, maybe not. We're in the last arc, so you'll find out very soon. So we're in the last arc of my dragon system. So that's going to end in about 100 chapters, maybe 50 chapters. Um, for for oh wait, I just want to quickly answer um, random dude's question. With that, if you've noticed and if you have read MVS, it always seems like it's going a certain way and everything is predictive and then it becomes unpredictable. So I actually play on the tropes and people think it's going to play out with the tropes and then it always does usually does a switch. Anyway, I was answering. Oh, when does the manga come out? The
Mm.
manga is already uh, a lot of it has already been done. The only reason why I haven't released it is because I'm in the middle of deciding whether to go with a publisher or self-publish it. So that's why I haven't released it. And I was gonna just put it on Patreon, but I haven't had time. I really don't have time these days.
Okay, very good. So now we have questions. Okay, so Flying Dolphins back again. What is your typo speed? I mean, what is your typing speed? Don't mind.
I think like 70 is 70. I mean, you have to remember you're writing. It's not like a test online. Like I could probably write faster if I have to just do one of those tests online. But when you're writing, you have to think about what you're writing as well. So 70 is like my highest. I think usually it's around 40 something. And that sounds low, but that's just uh, because like I said, you have to think of the story while you're writing. You're not constantly typing.
Okay, you're just flexing on me. I'm pretty sure that all your fingers now have six packs from what you are doing because I cannot. Okay, Like, granted, I have only started learning how to type 3 weeks ago with all 10 fingers, but I'm already dying. I'm crawling at the 10 words per minute kind of speed when I first started. So, yeah, you flexing a 70. Oh my god, you trying to diss me?
10 slow. Were you typing with your index
No,
before?
yes, yes. When I was typing with both my index fingers, it was like what, 45, something like this. And then after that, it's like, oh, let's go back to basics and learn the proper way. Oh no, it's 10. I use the
Yeah,
backspace
there's always
most.
someone better. The thing is, there's always someone better than you at something, right? You can never compare yourself like that. You should always compare yourself to you, because like when I used to play guitar, there's always some kid online that can play so much better than you can.
For
So it's like,
real.
and then you feel so depressed because they're like 10 years old, and you've been playing for like 10 years, and you're like 20 something, and you're like, how, what? So you should never, yeah, you should never compare yourself to others. You should always compare yourself to you. So if you are better than you were the day before or the week before, that's great. As long as you're not de-progressing, that's fine.
Thank you for the kind words. I feel like I'm gonna win myself at being boss bitch this year. It's my image change from small lolly senpai. Okay, so here, Luca asks, how is Queen gonna match Arthur in power without a time skip? Is this a spoiler question?
Where?
Luca is asking, how is Queen gonna match Arthur in power without a time skip? Do you want to answer a spoiler question?
Yeah, that's spoiler. That's like heavy spoiler because that's even the latest.
Oh, okay, okay,
That's
Luca.
yeah, that's really spoilers. So I won't be able to answer any spoiler questions, guys.
Okay, not on live stream anyway. So, Luca, if you really want your answer, buy privilege, go to his Discord server, have access to spoiler channel, and then ask it there. Okay? Right. So I see Weep Psycho TV as well. Hi there. Okay. Where am I? Okay, Weep Psycho TV is asking, would you ever write a novel without a system? He likes system, but just wondering if you would get tired of systems.
Yeah, so if you joined at the beginning, so there's two things. One, my story, Virtual Sword God doesn't have a system, right? It's a novel about it's an esports novel, so it's about gaming, but it isn't a system game. It's not MMO or anything like that. It's about the character playing an esports game, like Avatar Taken King. Um, Taken King, is that the right name?
I got no clue.
No. I anyway. Eh, um, I and my next story, the zombie one, is my is my last system one.
Okay, so, okay, I am finally at the bottom of this chat. Neo says, JKS tells me he sleeps on a bed of money. He told me in confidence. Would you like to address this rumor?
No. So China is a cashless country. China is, I think, 90% of the mobile payments in the world come from China. So no one has cash. If you try pay with cash, they will not have change to give you. So I have no cash ever.
So he's cash poor, but he is asset rich, okay? Right, so I finally made the way down to the bottom of this chat. And random dude, I don't know what you're trying to do, but yes, the MC is a child, and in current trends of novel, anything that has scheme adds spice, but you got to know, if you love a writer, you will respect that writer and what he does, okay? Don't know whether if you're a reader or a troll, but in any case, let's just end it here and agree to disagree, whatever you want, okay? Moving on, finally, my third slide for tonight. Childhood dreams. Did you have any childhood dreams?
I think like maybe the basic ones when I was out younger, like because obviously I was playing guitar, maybe making a hit song or stuff like that. Like I always enjoyed watching anime and stuff like that, but I never thought of it. Uh, like I never thought my job would be related in that field at all. So I had the normal. Um, I had normal dreams like, oh, I want to be famous. I want to be um, a yeah, like a singer or a movie star. It wasn't any it wasn't any dreams until I grew older. Then I realized, maybe I should have gone university to um, have studied writing or studied art or something like that, and not study music. But you know, even without having gone to university, I think I've done pretty well for myself. So
You've not gone to university? That's a brilliant choice.
no. I've gone to university for music. I meant not for writing um, or like stuff. Like my degree is in music. It's got nothing to
Ah.
do with novels.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but honestly, if you ask me, university degrees are overrated. You just get launched into student debts and you don't use your degree because, from real story, if you are a content creator born to be one, like a drama queen, you don't use the degrees you get. That's because I have a degree, and I work in finance, and then I decided that that's bullshit. So now I decided to live the broke life of a writer. So it's like really not
I mean,
necessary.
I I do agree. Most of my friends, the most money, didn't go to university. Like they started working straight away and then worked their way up in their company.
Mm,
And then they're like 4 years. The people who've gone to university are like 4 years behind, and they can't even get those jobs because they have no experience.
mm,
But it is different in certain fields. There are certain degree, like there are certain fields where they just won't look at you if you don't have a degree. I
correct.
do think that's old fashioned, and it will change, but there are still some fields that are like that.
I mean, you can't be a lawyer without studying the law first, and you can't be a doctor without knowing where your appendix is located, so you need a degree for that. But apart from that, everything else is, the world should be changing. It's just not changing fast enough. Okay, Silas is saying, I'm very curious, where are you from? Because my vampire system has a lot of Western themes, but a good portion of it also has Eastern influences. Can I try to answer this question on behalf of you, Jack?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the boy is from England, and that explains the Western themes. And because he only reads Percy Jackson, is it Percy Jackson? Yeah, I think so. And the Eastern,
Yeah, that was the series I watched. Yeah.
yes, so Eastern influence should come from the very cultured anime and manga, Japanese kind of. We're weeps. Most of us are weeps.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I mean, people will notice as well because they got angry with me and then I changed it. So this is something I changed based on readers' perspective. In my first story, Dragon System, I wrote key as Ki, and that's because that's the Japanese way of doing key.
Mm.
And that's because I read manga, and manga do it as Ki, right? And ki, chi, and Qi are all the same thing. It's all life force. But
Yes.
because most people on web novel read Chinese novels, they're like, you're spelling it wrong. It's QI, not KI.
Mm.
And so in Vampire, when I introduced it into my story, I put it as QI instead of KI.
I mean, this is really author's preferences, but yeah, it's like majority of the readers would know QI because of all the translated novels, but KI is also correct depending on the language and the country you come from. Yeah. So okay, so Luca is asking how strong is the Bone Claw compared to major characters? Is this a spoiler question again?
It's not a spoiler question, but I
Okay.
mean it's a question like I feel like this is a question like, oh, who's stronger, Luffy or Goku? And it's like certain situations don't come up, and you know, my story is like real life. Just because one person can beat another doesn't mean the third person can beat them both. So
Mm.
sometimes styles make fight, or think of it like Pokemon, right? Just because Charizard can beat Venusaur doesn't mean Charizard can beat Blastoise.
Okay, I don't
And
know about that, but in any case, basically do not compare an orange to an apple to a pear. But if you want to know who is the true winner, know that the writer is always the strongest. You cannot win any of these characters. All he needs to do,
that's true.
all he.
People always ask me like, "Oh, who would win in this fight? In this fight?" It's like, well, I'm the right who's gonna win. Like, you know.
Whatever bets you place, you're gonna lose. You are betting against the god who created these people, okay? Okay. Weep Psycho TV. A lot of authors I know mostly write but don't read other web novels. Do you read other novels for inspiration?
Like I said, like I've only read two novels, and in fact, a lot of my novel, from what I liked from those novels, a lot of them are. So, like I said, I read Super G and I read Overgeared, and those are the only two novels um, web novels I read, and a lot of that stuff is in my book. I read mostly manga and webtoons, and like I said, I try because people are always like, well, then how do you write, right? And I try analyze when I'm reading. I've always been like this, and same when I watch a movie. I analyze what makes me excited. Why did I find that part exciting? And then I try break that down. Okay, now I've figured out why I found it exciting. Now I need to put this in my story.
Mm. Okay. So I hope that answers the question. Okay, Random Dude's back again. JKS, would you love to reincarnate in My Vampire System world? And which character aside from MC? Well, I'm pretty sure I don't know, man. He knows everything that's gonna happen in that world. Would you? Would you take that bus
I
and
I wouldn't reincarnate in. I mean, it's a world that's in war, and where the people who are low leveled get bullied and discriminated. So I probably wouldn't want to reincarnate in the MVS world. It's worse than ours. Apart from the technology, it's worse than ours.
mm,
Which character would I get? If Vorden didn't have all his problems that he had, I would love to. Um, I would love to be him because copying another person's power means you get to try them all, right? So that doesn't mean you get to pick one ability. You get to copy every single person's ability. But obviously, for those who've read the story, he has many problems. So,
okay, Whip Psycho TV back again. Would you ever write a cultivation novel?
no, because I don't. I've actually read a lot of Cultivation's manhwa. I don't know if that's how you say it.
Manhwa, yes.
Um, yeah, so I've read a lot of Cultivation, and the I'm not confident enough to actually write a story and do it justice because the bits that I enjoy in those stories aren't the cultivation bits of the stories. The bits I enjoy are the face slapping basically in those stories, and you don't need it to be a cultivation story to do the face slapping. So, and I also think cultivation is a niche, and although it will do good on web novel, it will not do good outside web novel. And
Mm,
people always ask me, why don't I like a good example of this is Cultivation Online is doing really well on web novel, and people always wonder, well, it's doing so well. Why aren't web novel paying ads for it? And it's because those ads don't do well because people don't even know the word cultivation. They see it and like, how can an ad work when they have to Google what the word means?
mm.
So
Okay, so just a side fun fact. One of the editors, content editors from web novel, tried to Google cultivation in Google Images, and the first thing that came up wasn't all your hot daddies with those traditional Chinese garbs. No, 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 no. The first thing that came up was a tractor. That's what cultivation means for Google. Okay. Okay, so Flying Dolphin is back. Ooh, Overgeared is one of my favorite web novels. Do you still read it? Because it's not finished.
I read up to like I don't know if I read up to chapter 800 or 1000 or something. I didn't get up to the current ongoing bit. Uh, I, it was one of those things like I I stopped reading it for a short while, and I was meant to go back onto back onto reading it, and I lost where I was. I didn't know what chapter I was on because I was reading it on unofficial website, and I there was no bookmark, right? And usually I have my tabs open, and what happened was I lost the tab for that chapter, and that just put me off because I didn't know what chapter I was on, so I could never go back to it. Even now, if I go back to it, I'm like, I've already read this, and I don't know what chapter I'm on. So
GG, RIP, rest in peace, no more. Okay, Silas is asking, will Queen enter a Shadow Realm like place or the familiar universe because you mentioned it, but I feel like it was left behind in the Fex Breakout arc. Is this a spoiler?
Um, I can answer this one. I would just say, guys, for future reference, we can keep. Let's try keep the questions like more about web novel or writing in general rather than my vampire system specific. Um, but I will answer this one. Sometimes I put things in the story because it'll be interesting to explore later on, but I might choose that there's not a right time or a right place to fit it in. But it's nice to mention it in case I do want to go back to it or explore it more.
Mm. Okay, so again, this is a notice. If you like that kind of content that JKS has not gotten to, you can write an unofficial fan fiction based on it. Okay, right. So, Noobs is back again. What is your relationship with the online site like Wuxia?
The only site that I upload to is Webnovel. It's contracted on Novel. It should only the story should only be on Webnovel. So these sometimes from Web Novel and put them on. And basically, sometimes they get things wrong. Sometimes it's not the latest version. Sometimes I get things wrong, and I get messages every day saying, "Why haven't you updated this story?" Why I'm like, "Are you reading on Web Novel?" It's because those sites just don't update all the time. So they are. Um, so if it's on a site other than Web Novel, it's not the correct site. You'll get wrong information. You won't get the latest chapters, and you won't get the updates I do to chapters. Like if I do something wrong or spell a name wrong.
Yeah, so basically, Wuxiao is not the official. If you are reading there, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's a pirate site. Get back to Web Novel to support the original author. Okay, Dreaming Pen is saying, how do you manage to maintain your constant update? Well, I mean, the boys got bills to pay.
Uh,
If you have bills to pay, you gotta work, right? Like, isn't that an obvious answer?
I do think. I mean, money is obviously anyone, right? If I don't write, I can't live. Right, I can't turn on the lights. I can't eat. But the thing is, like I said, I enjoy writing the story, so it's not, I as much as you guys want to know what happens next, I want to write it and tell you what happens next. Like Destiny asked me earlier, why don't I why don't I give spoilers, right? Or it was a question earlier, why don't I give spoilers? Well, I do want to tell you what happens, but I want you to do it the real way. So the quickest way for me to do that is write as many chapters as possible.
So I think that answers Dreaming Pen. Joe Skylar asks, do you ever imagine yourself as your story character while inking? I think she means to say, do you put yourself into the
Well,
story while...
so some people do this. I find it hard to do other than the main character. So, like I said multiple times,
Mm,
the main character in Vampire is of me. So I do imagine myself as the main character, but I haven't got to the stage where I like, oh, what does this person think in his shoes or their shoes?
mm,
Um, I have started doing it more, but if you notice, my story was more about plot and more about what's happening in the story rather than conversations between characters. And I think if you can imagine yourself as certain characters and why they would think a certain way, that's how you make interesting dialogue. And admittedly, like I'm an amateur writer, so I'm still learning. And just as you guys probably have seen, the chapters do improve from chapter one to currently.
Okay, so like just from someone who's been writing for almost a decade, I want to make it a little bit out there to readers who are curious about how writing works. There are many ways of writing. The one that you're talking about, Joe Schuyler, about imagining yourself as a story character, that's called immersive writing, where you become the character part of that world. That's very Destiny Aitsuji. Okay. JKS style of writing is more towards pen zooming. Like, for example, you are the director of a movie, so you watch it from a back seat while you write. You dictate things going on inside of the book. You don't become part of the scene, but you tell the actors what to do and on the set. So it's two very different styles of writing. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, he's not a completely immersive writer, so the style will reflect that as such. So Luca is like, can we please get a humanoid demon tier beast group, kind of like the Akatsuki, please? What was that to mean?
Uh, that's that's a vampire system related again. It's yeah, maybe, who knows. It depends how much I want to, like. There's a thin line, right? Because there's a main plot and there's always side plots, and there's a thin line between how much you can expand on the side plots without people going, oh, this is just filler. And sometimes it's like, I would love to explore the world more. I would love to like, oh, add this in. Oh, like someone asked about the familiar stuff. I'd like to add all that stuff in, but sometimes when there's a main story and people want to get to the point, oh, this is filler, this is filler, and because this is my job at the end of the day,